Without a further ado, let me start with my introduction. My name is Ashish Dhyani, and I'm working as a trainer at InfoSec Train. And it's been a decent amount of time that I've been working into the field of cybersecurity. And in cybersecurity, I've done a lots of certifications from CompTIA, from EC Council, and uh, from offensive security. So lots of certifications I've done like A plus, Linux plus, Network plus, Pentest plus, Server plus, and apart from that, from EC Council I've done CH, CND, and CPENT LPT Masters. Apart from that, I've done OSCP as well. So these are some of the certifications that I have done, and I'm a trainer for that. And apart from these trainings or certifications, I have tailored lots of courses at InfoSec Train. So starting from network penetration testing, web application penetration testing, Active Directory penetration testing, all the pen testing certs and all the pen testing uh, trainings. I'm the one who's leading, and that's a bit about me. So let's start with our training. So in this training, it's a 4-day training, 2 hours per day, and in this we'll learn lots of things about the advanced penetration testing. So you are after this training, you are ready to deep dive into the penetration testing world and solve the machines, take exams, right? Because like nowadays everyone needs certification, so that's why I've done this webinar, so that you guys get to know that those who are starting into the security or those who want to know more into security, they get to know that how we do the exploitation, what are the things we need during the penetration testing. So that's why I've done this certification, right? As with our agenda, so the agenda for today is shell scripting, right? So we'll be learning about what is shell, what are the different types of shell, the variables, how to use the redirections, what are the loops, how to create loops, the functions, what are different, how to create a function, then the shells, the environment in which you will be writing the script, why you need scripting. So all these things we are going to learn today. Now, the very first thing is what is shell? We are going to learn about shell scripting. The very first thing is we should know what is shell. Shell is what? Shell is something where we write our scripts, where we write our commands. Now, if we understand it from the perspective of Linux, right? The Linux architecture. So in Linux, there is a Linux is an operating system. How will I define operating system? Operating system is the interface between user and the hardware. Now, that Linux, it's very complex, right? So there is kernel as well, there is shell as well. So when a user wants to communicate with the hardware, there are two things in between, shell and kernel, right? So that shell and kernel which we are talking about, that shell and kernel, they are important parts of the architecture of Linux, right? So when we talk about the shell, shell is the interface which allows us to communicate with kernel, because kernel cannot understand our direct commands. Yes, so you need something which will basically allow you or convert your commands into the format which is understood by the kernel. And what is kernel? What kernel does? Kernel is called the heart of the operating system, right? So it tells how all the things are going to work. If you have some processes, so it will help you in process allocation as well, right? That which process will be executed by what processor, right? That's what kernel does, right? Memory allocation, processor allocation. So lots of work. That's why we call it heart of the operating system, right? So that's your kernel. Now, when we talk about the shell, right? as we are talking about shell in Linux. So shell is what? It is an environment in which we can run our commands, programs, and shell scripts, right? And there are different flavors of shell and there are different flavors of operating system. So each flavor of shell has its own set of commands and functions. Okay. So if we talk about shells, types of shell in Linux, which one is the first? Is it Bourne shell? There is Bourne shell, right? Then there is Born Again shell, right? Then there is Corn shell, C shell, what else? Z shell, which we are using right now. Yep. So these are the different types of shell, and every shell is different. Like the first shell, like which we are talking about, is Bourne shell. Bourne shell was a normal shell where we were writing commands, and the history commands and autocomplete command of commands. These options were not present, right? So when we talk about Bourne shell, it was just a normal shell where you will write normal commands, right? Then there was C shell as well, right? C shell did what? The syntax of C shell was very difficult, right? Why? Like those who have seen C programming language, in that, what was happening? Everything was written in a like very typical syntax way, right? In a typical way. So what happened then? Then in C shell, there were arithmetic operations being done. Like Bourne shell was not able to do arithmetic operations, right? Arithmetic calculations. But in C shell, it was present. But the drawback of C shell was the syntax, because not everyone is from the programming background. So people were not able to understand or write the commands efficiently. Then came corn shell. So it was a combination of corn and seashell and bone shell, right? Where the syntax was easy and arithmetic operations were being done. Then after that, when GUI was added and new things were added, then Bash came, right? Born again shell, which we call Bash as well, right? So in that Bash shell, what happens? You have colors, so color coding is there. So different types of colors are there. For like if it's a file, it will be in white. If it's a directory, it will be in blue. If it's an archive file, it will be in red. If it's an image, it will be in purple, right? So these kind of color coding is was there. Then you can use history. You can write the history command, and you can see all the older commands which you have used, right? By pressing the tab, you can auto complete the commands as well, right? It will give you suggestions as well, right? Then, right now, which shell we are using? Z shell. What is Z shell? The latest shell having everything now, right? If I'm saying everything, everything means whatever you want to do. If you want to work with GUI, that's great. You can work with GUI as well. If you want to work with CLI, yes, CLI is available. Different color codings. Now color codings have been increased, right? So that you can work with. Now, if we see any shell like this, right? This is Kali Linux, right? Now in this Linux, if I open my terminal, right? So right now I'm using Z shell, but as what user? Root user is the super user of this machine, right? So if how we found that I'm not the root user, the first thing is this prompt. There is a dollar prompt, and this dollar signifies that you're not the root user of this machine, right? You don't have the super user rights. You cannot do everything you want to do on this machine. There will be some files which are created by the root user. There will be some files which can be edited by the root user only. You don't have those permissions. So that is how we found that this dollar prompt says you're not the root user. If I am the root user, what would be the prompt? Pound sign, right? A hash, which we call. So that would be our sign. Now, if I write a command, right? So if I want to get my privileges changed to the root user, I will just write sudo su, right? Now, what sudo su means? This command sudo su means super user do substitute user, right? If I press enter and enter the password, so now the prompt has been changed and the username has been changed. Before my username was Kali, but now my username is root, right? And then there is a hash, right? This hash shows that I'm the root user of this machine. Then next thing what it shows that in which directory you are in right now, right? So I am inside the user directory. My username is Kali, so that's why Kali directory I'm in, right? Now the thing is, it shows the path. In this path, can anyone tell that what this first forward slash tells? What it means? Root. So will I be inside the root directory? If I write cd forward slash, am I inside the root directory? If I do ls, I can see lots of things here, right? Root directory is here. See? So it's not, I'm saying you are wrong, right? Many people they say that this directory has root directory, and or you can say the very first directory where everything is present, right? But the thing is, this is called file system, right? Here we can see, uh, like let's say this is my file system, right? So this file system is the slash forward slash, right? First forward slash shows the file system, right? So this is our file system. Clear? Now inside file system, you can go to the home directory. Inside home directory, there is your user. So you can go to the user Kali. Now the cd command, what cd command does? Change directory, right? So if I am writing cd and any directory name, right? Let's say if I write cd root, will that work? No, it won't work because what CD does, the directory in which you are in right now, it will check there only. So right now I am inside the Kali directory, so it will check for root named directory inside Kali, but it's not inside Kali. So the correct syntax would be cd slash root. Slash means file system. Go to file system, then inside file system there is root and I am inside root, right? If I want to go out of directory and if I want to step back or come out of any directory, I'll just write dot dot. So double dot in Linux means one directory back, right? I'm inside the file system. Perfect. So these are the types of shell, and that's how you become the root user and normal user. Now, if let's say I want to find out what shell I am using, what can be the command for that? So there is a command echo. Echo will print everything that you want. Let's say I want to print hello. So hello will get printed, right? Echo dollar shell. It gave me the path in which shell I am, right? If you want only the name of it, you can write echo dollar zero and you got the name of the shell which I am using, ZSH, right? So both the commands are correct, right? Either you can write echo dollar shell or echo dollar zero if you want just the name, right? So those are different types of shell. Next thing is, what is shell scripting? So what we are doing, rather than doing something manually, right? What we are doing, we are giving instructions in a single file to the computer so that it performs what we want it to do, right? Right. So the basic concept of a shell script is a list of commands. So those are listed in order of execution, right? And if you are writing shell script, a good shell script, it will have comments, right? So comments do what? They will describe the steps, right? So there are conditional tests like value A is greater than value B. There are loops which allow us to go through massive amounts of data, files to read, and store data, right? So shell scripts are interpreted, right? This means they are not compiled. What this statement means that they are interpreted, not compiled. So we have seen whenever, like if you guys have written programs in C, C++, those codes are compiled. Compiled means, let's say I have 100 line of code, the code will get compiled and it will show you that error is in line number 10, 12, 15, 25, 37, 75. So all the errors will be shown to you in a single go. So whole code is executed in a single time, in a single go, you can say. Right. When we are talking about interpretation or interpreted, that means code is read one by one, line by line. Whenever it encounters any error, the code execution stops. So if your error is in, if you have a 100 line code and your error is in line number 10, so program execution will stop at line number 10 and it will show you there is an error in line number 10, right? You will remove that error and then you will again start the execution, right? That's why we say the programming languages which use interpreter instead of compiler, they are a bit slow. The process of interpretation is slow as compared to compilation. Now, the thing is, we'll start writing our code into shell, right? We'll create our own script, right? For that, you will need a Linux system, right? Do you guys have the setup of Linux? Those who don't have the setup, what I'm doing is I'm sharing some link and you can download Linux and install it in your systems, right? So this is the link for downloading Linux, and here is the link for downloading the VMware workstation if you are using Windows. Now, what we'll do, we'll start creating scripts. Whenever you write script, right, the very first thing is the extension of that script is sh, right? How you create a file in Linux, you can use touch or I use nano, right? So nano is what? Nano is an editor. Now why I'm not using touch? Yeah, it's good. If you want to use touch command, you can use that. But the thing is, when we are using touch command, it will only create a file. Then using any editor, we have to edit it. Nano does what? Nano will create a file, and then what it will do? Edit it as well, right? So the very first thing, I'm creating a directory for me using the mkdir command, make directory scripting, right? And day one, right? Now in this I will create a file nano, and let's say I name it script dot sh. Yes. So the name of your file can be anything, but the extension will be sh only. Got this? Now, very first thing, whenever you start writing script, every script it starts or it begins with a line, and that line is called shebang, right? What shebang is, it's that hash note slash bin slash bash. This is known as shebang. This is the line which tells that which interpreter to use, right? So if I'm writing hash not slash bin slash bash, so bash shell is located inside the bin directory. Yeah, it's inside bin directory. That's why I'm doing what I'm specifying which interpreter you should use, right? You might have seen many in many places, whenever any script you will read, it only starts with hash not slash bin slash bash, right? Now the thing is, many times you might have seen hash not this one. Have you seen this anywhere? Hash not slash usr slash bin slash env space bash. Anyone who has seen it? These are the two lines which I'm writing, two shebang lines. But in these shebang lines, which one we should use or where to use? Like both will work same. They will specify the interpreter. Now, the thing is, the first one which we have written, slash user slash bin env bash, that's called portable shebang line, right? Your bash interpreter, it is typically located at slash bin slash bash, right? But if you don't know, let's say I gave you my system or someone gave me their system, and I don't know at what place they have installed the bash. right? So what I will do, I will write the first one, right? Slash user slash bin slash env space bash, right? So some Linux distributions, they place the bash interpreter in different locations. So this shebang line will try to find that location, right? And whenever you do penetration testing, you use this line. The second one is used when you are sure that yes, in this place your interpreter is located. There are two things, right? Either you know the location of the interpreter or you don't, right? If you know the location of the interpreter, which is by default in Kali Linux, it is inside bin directory, right? Inside bin directory, there is a bash directory. So what you wrote, hash not slash bin slash bash, that this is the path to the interpreter and this interpreter will interpret my code, whatever I will write after it, right? But there are some times when you don't know the location of interpreter. Let's say it's not inside bin, it's inside slash bin slash somewhere else, or it's user share bin bash, right? So the location can be different. It depends on the type of operating system and the distribution of Linux that you are using, right? So at that time, what to use? If you don't know the path, then you will use the first one, slash user slash bin slash env space bash. So what it will do, it will try to find out the location of bash and will include it in our code, right? So we don't have to give the exact path. We are just giving the shell. Now it's the duty of your operating system to find out where the location of the shell is. Now we are going to use the second one because we know that in Kali Linux the path is this only, hash not bin bash. What if I write sh here, slash bin slash sh? Will that work? So this will also work because sh is our bourne shell. We specify bourne shell using sh, so that's also correct, right? Perfect. Now, whenever I want to write something, so in many of the programming languages, you might have seen that what we do, we have like different things, right? Like you have to start with the curly braces, parentheses you will use, semicolons you will use, right? Here you have to take care of spaces, the white spaces, right? Indexing is very necessary while you are writing script in shell, right? Why it is necessary? To tell that if I'm writing a function, inside that function, what should be executed? Outside that function, what should be executed? So that's why indexing and spacing is very important, right? Shell and Unix, it is case sensitive. Now the meaning of case sensitive is, if there is a command and I'm writing it in uppercase, then it should be uppercase. If I'm writing it in lowercase, then it should be in lowercase, right? Commands are written in lowercase, so that's why. Now, let's say I want to print something. Echo, what is your name? Now, I want to give it the output that my name is this, right? Like my name is Ashish. So I have to save that Ashish in somewhere. Now, where we can save it? We can save it inside variable, right? Now, what is variable? Think of variable as a container, right? Which can contain or which can save arbitrary values. Now, what is the meaning of arbitrary values? So arbitrary values means that it can be of any type. It can be a decimal number, it can be integer as well, it can be text as well, right? So variables are what you can name variable anything, right? You can give it any name, but those are the containers or where you can save anything, right? So what you have to do, you have to save your input in some variables. Let's say I'm naming my variable a, right? And I'm giving it a equals to Ashish, right? And then I'm printing echo. Whenever you want to call the value which is saved inside a variable, you will use dollar, right? So I'm writing dollar a. What it will do? It will call the value which is saved inside a. So it will paste my name is and dollar a, that means Ashish. Now let's save it. How will you save it in Nano? Control X, then Y, then enter. Now, there are two ways of executing it. First is bash space script.sh. What is your name? My name is Ashish. Right? Second way is you have to give it executable permission. Chmod plus X. What do you mean by chmod? Correct. Chmod means change moderations. Right? That means you can modify the permissions of file for different users if they can read, write, or execute. Right? So R means read, W means write, and X means execute. So I have to give it executable permissions, otherwise you won't be able to execute this. Right? So that's why chmod plus X and the file name, it has executable permissions. Right? How you can find that? ls space hyphen la script.sh, and you can see the permissions. What are these three set of permissions for? Right? Perfect. So everywhere you can see RWX, R-X, R-X. So we have given the permission to everyone, executable permission to anyone, right? And for executing it, you will write dot forward slash file name and it got executed. Let's say I don't want to give input, but I want that my script gets executed. My script takes the input from the user, right? So if I give this script, if I execute this script in your system, so what I want is that script will run, it will ask what is your name, you will enter my name is this, and then we get the value. How can we do that? So for taking the input from user, what we have to do, we have to define a variable, but we'll use read, right? So what I have written, read a and echo my name is dollar a. So whatever user will give, whatever input user will give, that input will be saved inside a variable. Then this echo command will get executed and it will paste my name is and whatever value is saved inside it. Right? Now let's see what it does. So if you can see, there is a pause in my code, right? I have written script.sh, it got executed, it gave me a prompt, what is your name? Now if I write the name Ashish, it says my name is Ashish. So that's how you take input from the user. So that's how you are taking input from the user. Now let me remove these things and let's create a new program. So let's say I have two numbers, right? I want to add these two numbers. So what I will do, I will write C equals to $A plus $B. Will that work? Okay. Now there are two ways of writing this, right? I can write it like this: C equals to dollar A plus B, and I can write echo sum is dollar C. Will this work? Okay, let's see. Control X, Y, enter, and dot slash dot sh. Am I getting the output? Sum is 36. Yes. This is the first way of writing. Second way is what I can do. I can write backtick expr for expression dollar $A plus dollar $B and backtick close. I'm not using single quotes. These are not single quotes. These are backticks. Below your escape button with the tilde sign, there is backtick as well, right? So now you got to know where to use backticks, right? Am I getting the output? Yes. So these are the two ways of writing. Right? I'm writing the first way as well. If someone missed it, so you guys can try it out in your emulators. First way is this, second way is this. Whichever suits you, you can use. Now, those who are done with this, there is a task for you guys. What you have to do, yeah, like there is some like celebrations are going on in India, so that's why there will be for today. Some background noise. Now, what you guys have to do right now, I have given input from my side, like A equals to 17, B equals to 19, right? But what you have to do is you have to take input from the user. So you have to write a code which will add two numbers, but both of those numbers will be given as an input by the user, right? You know how to take the input using read, right? So try it out, add the numbers, right? Okay, so how it will look like, I'm writing echo, enter the first number, right? B, enter the second number, and done, right? So this will be our output. Let's execute it. Dot slash script, enter the first number, enter the second number, and the sum is 24. Perfect. Now, in scripting, what we have relational operators. Now, what are relational operators like hyphen EQ, right? Hyphen EQ means equals to, right? Which we can show as this as well. So either you write hyphen EQ or you can write equals to sign, right? Then you can write hyphen NE. Hyphen NE means not equals to, right? Which is this as well. Then hyphen GT, greater than, which you can write as this also, right? Hyphen LT, less than, which you can write as this also. Then hyphen LE. Hyphen LE means less than equals to, right? Which you can write as less than equals to, right? And hyphen GE. Hyphen GE means greater than equals to, which you can write as this, right? So these are called relational operators, right? Now, how you can use relational operators? Let's see. Now, let's say I have taken input from user. So now we'll use the conditional statement also and the relational operators as well. So what if I write, let's say user gave some input, right? Or for now, for the first one, let me give A equals to 10, B equals to 11, right? I'm writing if statement. Now, what if statement does? It will compare two things, right? And like I'm writing it as it is, you have to write it. Wherever I'm uh, giving spaces, you have to give space. A equals to B. Then echo is equal to B. And if you want to close the if statement, then this is how it is closed, right? Fi, you will write, right? So this is how you write the if statement. Then again, if A not equals to B, then echo print A is not equal to B, and then close the if statement, right? Now if I execute this, will this work? What it says, A is not equal to B. That means it's working. Yep. Now let's say uh, I want to combine these, right? How can I combine? What I can do, I can remove this if line, right? And I can write if A equals to B, then A print A is equal to B. Else print is not equal to b. So else condition we can use. It says is not equal to b. Yes, getting the point. Now what I'll do, let's write it from here. I'll write if statement, right? If a is greater than b, then print is greater than b. Else, or instead of else, we can use else if. Else if, what will be the condition? A less than b, right? Then echo a is less than b. Else echo a is equal to b. There is a very huge mistake. If then is not there, then how will you give what to do, right? The main thing is that we have given a and b, but we have not called the value which is saved inside a and b. So we'll give dollar signs here, here, and here. Yes. Now let's execute and let's see if it gives errors. So it says a is less than b. And for equals, I have written else statement. If it is not greater than b, and if it is not less than b, then it should be equal to b. So I have written is equals to b. So this is how you use if statement, the conditional statements, right? Next thing is what we have to do. We have to learn about functions, that what are functions and how functions work in Linux, right? Remember we created a program for adding two numbers, right? What if I have to add two numbers, but this time I will use functions, right? So let me create a new file, sum.sh hash not slash bash, right? How you create functions? Let's say my function name is add underscore numbers, right? And how you define function with a parenthesis after it, right? In this function, what I have written, local number one equals to $1 and local number two equals to $2, right? And local variable sum equals to, what will be the sum? Expr dollar number one plus number two. right? And then echo the sum of number one and number two is dollar sum. Yes. Now this is a function which I have created. Who will give the number? User will give the number. So I'm writing echo enter the first number and read first number, right? Then echo enter the second number, right? And read num2, right? In the end, we'll call the function. So what? How will we call it? Just add number and dollar num1 dollar num2. This is how we create functions. Local, I have written to define that this is a local variable which will be used inside this function only, not outside this function, right? If you don't want to write local, that's also okay, right? So we have created a function. Whenever this function will be called, numbers will be added, which are given as an input by the user. Now, when we talk about network, a basic thing, I'm not talking about very big, something big and something uh, very advanced. I'm just saying that whenever there is a problem in our network, right? The very first thing, let's say I'm not able to connect to the internet, right? So what will happen? I will check first my network interface card, the network interface card inside my laptop or computer, right? Now, the IP, like how I check, I do the ping. Okay. So why we use ping command? So that we can check the connectivity. So let's say if if the target host is alive or not, if it is working or not. So we have a loopback IP which is 127.0.0.1. That's called loopback IP, and if you are able to ping that IP, that means your network interface card is working fine. So what you have to do is you will ping 127.0.0.1, right? And if you are getting a reply from it, that means your network interface card is working fine. Then we also check if the default gateway is working fine. Now, how can I find out my default gateway? Either you can use ifconfig. In Linux, I can use the route command, right? So now in this route command, it shows the default gateway is 192.168.175.2. So if I ping this, and after pinging, if I'm getting a reply, let's say ping hyphen c1 192.168.175.2, right? One packets transmitted, one received, 0% packet loss. So that means default gateway is working fine. Yes. And same like that, if I check the connectivity of the internet, so I will ping 8.8.8.8. So it says one packet transmitted, one packet received. That means internet connectivity is working fine, right? So what we have to do, we have to write a code which will check the connectivity, right? So this is the task for you guys. checking the connectivity. So first for checking, you will ping 127.0.0.1. If it is working fine, then you will print NIC is working fine if you are getting a reply. Same you will do with gateway, and same you will do with 8.8.8. Everything should be written in the form of script. Can you guys do it? Okay. Let me also write the code, and I'm naming it connectivity.sh, right? Hash not slash win slash bash. For this, I'll need one more tab to make you guys understand, right? First thing, if I'm pinging my network interface card, right? That means 127.0.0.1, right? So how can I find that it is working fine? That means I'm getting a reply from it as well, right? So I have to pick up something from here, right? So I have to do what? I have to work with the output, and then I have to manipulate that output. How? There is a command. Now, in this output, we can see it says one received, right? So that means if I pick up this one received, I'm sending one ping only if the received is one only. Then I can say it's working fine, right? So for that, I have to make changes to my command. First, I will grep received from whole output, right? Whatever the output ping command gives, right? From this whole output, I will grab only the line having the word received, right? If I press enter, I get only the line which says received, right? Out of all this, I also want that I get only this one. I want to capture this one only, right? So what I will do, there is a command in Linux which goes by the name cut, right? I will write cut hyphen D for specifying the delimiter. Delimiter means the one which does the spacing part, or the one which is separating the things from each other, right? So there are spaces present, right? So in this, if you count the spaces, so according to spaces there are fields. So this one is field 1, packets is field 2, transmitted field 3, 1 field 4, received is field 5, 0% is field 6, again packet is field 7, loss is field 8, time is field 9, 0ms is field 10, right? So what I will do, I will write cut hyphen d, delimiter is space. So I have given a space here, and hyphen f for field number 4. What I got in the output? 1, right? So that's how we can create this. Now, if I'll copy it from here and put it in my code, right? So what I will do, I will write echo checking connectivity, right? And then again echo checking network interface card, and I'm taking a variable a equals to this command, and this command, whenever this command you will execute any command in the script, shell script, you will use backticks, right? Now I'll write if a equals to 1, then echo nic is working fine, else echo nic is down. and close the if condition. So this is what we have done. We have done it for the first one, the checking of NIC. Now we have to check the default gateway. Now in default gateway, there will be a problem. What problem? I have written the route command, right? Now here we have to capture only this line where default gateway is written. So what I will write? Pipeline grep default, right? So this line is captured. After this, we have to cut the output, right? So I will write cut hyphen D. The delimiter is space, right? But how many spaces? Which field it is? This one. Which field it is? So for that, if I paste this output here, copy it and paste it in a text file, right? So you can see field one is this, right? Then there are how many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the 10th field is this, right? So there is, this is not field number 2. This is field number 10, right? So what I will do, I will write hyphen F10 here. When I write this, then I got the IP. Now the output of this command is an IP which I have to ping. So first I will save it in a variable. I'm naming my variable route and I will save this command in it. When this command will get executed, what will be the output? An IP, right? So I will use a variable B and in that the command will be same, right? Ping hyphen C 1 and which IP you have to ping? The route IP, right? And then the same thing, grep received cut hyphen D space and hyphen F4, right? And the same if statement, if $B equals to 1, then echo default gateway is working fine. Else echo default gateway is down. Close the if condition, right? And same we have to do for the next one, the 8.8, right? There we have to ping 8.8. So command will be same, right? So what you will write, echo checking internet connectivity. Yep. And I'll take a variable C where will ping hyphen C1 8.8.8.8. Yep. And then grep received cut hyphen D delimiter is space hyphen F4 field number 4. How we calculated field number 4 is ping hyphen C1 and let's say 8.8.8.8. So there are single spaces in between. There are not multiple spaces, right? It's already, you can see it that there is a single space, not multiple spaces, right? So That's why we wrote hyphen F4, field number 4, right? So this is field number 1, then there is field number 2, then transmitted is field number 3, and after transmitted there is one which is field number 4, which I have captured. And says if $C equals to 1, then echo internet is working fine. Else echo internet connectivity is down, right? And close the if statement. Now let's execute it. Bash connectivity.sh, and it says checking internet connectivity, checking NIC is working fine. Default gateway is working fine. Checking internet connectivity, internet is working fine, right? So this is how you write the code for checking the connectivity. Perfect. So this is how you do scripting, right?